morning, Sault Ste. Marie and Algoma. Welcome to the special report morning edition. I'd like to thank KC Securities for sponsoring us. Also, we are live on Facebook Live right now, and you can send us a comment there live right here on the air to us. If you have a question or you want to say good morning, we'll do some Facebook shout-outs later on in the program. If you have anyone you'd like us to wish happy birthday to or happy anniversary, just pop it there in the comments on Facebook, and we will get to it later in the show. Good morning, Colette.
Good morning, Christopher. How are you today?
I'm doing great because I called for thunderstorms yesterday.
Yeah.
And when I left, it was sunny.
I was going to say, I don't remember a thunder boomer last night.
Yeah, there wasn't,
no.
Which was nice. I like being wrong on those ones.
Oh, okay.
Those are the ones I'm completely fine with being wrong with the weather.
Oh, yeah, you're right, absolutely.
So, I'm good.
So you had a good night last night. It was nice and hot. What'd you do? Anything exciting or fun?
Yeah, I watched the almost 4-hour council meeting.
Oh, right. Can't wait to dive into that. That's later this afternoon.
I'm going to talk about council in the afternoon show.
Okay, all right.
And a little on my own show today as well. So there was...
Give us some
For
highlights. A
4
couple
hours,
brief highlights.
I'm going to try and...
4 hours, eh?
Yes.
That's a shorty.
And the highlights was a dog park issue. They gave a little bit of a COVID-19 economic recovery, which basically amounted to... That's a provincial thing, and then when it happens, it happens.
So that got deferred?
Yeah, so basically almost everything they talked about was deferred to the provincial government.
Okay.
Now, in their defense, it is the provincial government that has to make those decisions. Yeah. There are some decisions that they can make, like, for example, whether or not we open the beaches in the city of Sault Ste. Marie, for example.
Did they discuss that?
Well, they're closed right now, and they will be for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
They don't want people congregating there.
So I sent you that picture last night. I can't remember.
From San Francisco.
Yes, and they had the social distancing on the beach. Actually, I should have sent it to Mike so we could have pulled it up. But it was pretty cool, how they had that. I'll try and get it to Mike over the commercial and see if we can get it up. But it was literally everybody was in their sections off. They're sectioned off properly and enjoying the hot weather and the water. I don't know about going to the water though. That was just sitting on the sand.
Yeah.
So we didn't get that far.
I'm not sure how you would do that in the water.
I don't know.
I mean, look at a beach volleyball court. We already know how to put lines down on sand. So it's
that's true.
It's just simply a matter of spacing it so that everybody's the right distance apart, which is the smart thing to do, because Florida, you can just go to a beach and you can sit right next to someone that's not even connected to you at all, not someone you've been living with, but just a general person in the population. So
speaking of Florida, so you talked about it the other day, but I had it on my newscast this morning. They were talking about opening up Disney, the three major players, SeaWorld, Universal Studios, and Disney.
Yes. Universal Studios is opening June 5th. They already have approval.
Okay, good.
The other two are still
So
in the
I know the approval was going to the Florida, the governor, or the...
Well, it has to go to the Orange County Economic Recovery Task Force first. They have to approve that, then the mayor, and then the governor has to approve
I thought it was at the task force right now, from what I reported this morning, and then they were talking about SeaWorld, Disney, and Universal. They're going to roll it out in a couple different phases, obviously.
Yes.
At 50% capacity, then at 75% capacity. Mandatory face masks, mandatory hand sanitizer, but the contact or the touchless hand sanitizer. I would imagine there's going to be a lot of people hired for the job because they're going to have to do a lot of cleaning and sanitizing.
And a lot of people coming back as well who were laid off.
Yeah. But I mean, do you think about it, if they are on a ride and they get off the ride, they're going to have to wipe down that seat every single time.
They're probably
going to use... wait times.
They probably won't do every single seat on a roller coaster either. They'll probably...
That's true too, like
front row, third row, fifth row, and stagger it that way as well.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good for this. It's great for tourism. I mean, I know
Disney's one of the largest employers in Florida, so... That's
right, but I'm just saying maybe they might actually end up hiring a little bit more people. It might be a good step in the right direction. However, I mean, there's a lot of them, a lot of things that they need to iron out before
the other thing too is who's going to go.
Well,
that's like flights are extremely limited.
Yeah.
The location of Disney World is basically in northern Florida, but Florida's kind of like pretty isolated. Like if you're in North Dakota, are you going to drive down to Orlando? Probably not. Would you fly? Yes. So I think
that's true. Yeah.
However,
That is
Disney
true.
does have deals for Florida residents. It's actually cheaper if you live in Florida to actually go.
Did you do that when you were in Miami?
No.
No. Okay, didn't work. How about this 4-day work week we're talking about? Because I think it's great, Monday to Thursday, I would assume.
Yes.
40 hours, so you do your 10 hours a day. And then, on top of that, we're going to maybe get our 10 sick days in there too, that the provincial government, or the government's looking at it today. Or it was in the newscast this morning. So we'll see what happens for that. What do you think of the 4-day work week?
I think it makes a lot of sense, even economically.
Yeah, we were
Sweden
talking about
did it,
this. Yeah.
And Sweden's productivity per worker actually went up.
Right. Less traffic on the highways. The 4-day, with just the 4 days, less production time. I mean, you having all your lights on and your cameras operating and everything, depending on what your industry you're in. You could go on and get everything done in the 4-day work week. I like it. I like it a lot.
And Sweden didn't even go up to 40 hours. They kept the same 7.5-hour workday.
Yeah.
And productivity went up. So,
Really?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Because
all right, that's
apparently
interesting.
at a certain point,
it'd
humans
be-
get tired and then they're not really useful anymore.
Well, I don't know, but I do know
Hence
about
the reason
you.
why we're being replaced by machines that don't get tired.
Okay. I do know about you, but I am tired, especially during all this. Now, listen, I read this today. OPP officers located human remains on the weekend near Temiskaming shores after receiving a call. So that's a good call to get, eh? The identity of the body has not yet been confirmed, and a post-mortem examination will happen at a later time. So we will keep you updated on that. That sounds pretty interesting. So what else you got going on over there? What else do you have today?
Yeah, I got some weather.
Yeah.
Coming up in my segments, I got more of the Samantha Hill interview from the Ontario Medical Association.
Oh, right. Yeah, good.
And then some stuff on long-term care and the public's opinion on long-term care homes and what we should do going forward.
Nice. Okay, so are we in for thunderstorms today?
Yes.
Okay, tell
So
me.
Today is going to be 30. It's going to be even higher with the Humidex. It's going to be sort of like 34, 35 with the Humidex. It is going to be thunderstorms today. Tomorrow, it's going to be 29 without the Humidex. It's going to be about 33 with it. Also, rain and thunderstorms. And then Thursday, definite thunderstorms. However, we're going down to 15 as a high and a low of 6. So that we are, the next few days is basically thunderstorms with maybe some chance of sun today and tomorrow. However, Thursday is looking cold and rainy and thunderstorms. I'm utterly confused.
How do you go from high of 30 today to high of 15 tomorrow? What's up with that?
Crazy weather.
Well, we have got a lot of crazy stuff coming up later. We're going to talk about your child's safety on the internet right now. They are at home a lot and searching the net and on YouTube. So I'm going to talk about cyberbullying maybe a little bit later in the show, just to give you some tips that you can pass on to your children. We will be right back after this commercial break.
See you in a minute.
What's life without making a few mistakes down the road? A few sharp turns. And doing things for what we adore, but might regret later. A trip to Chuck's Roadhouse isn't one of them. With melt-in-your-mouth AAA steaks, buttery lobster tail, half-priced apps after 9 p.m., an ice-cold draft with all your Roadhouse favorites. Chuck's Roadhouse. Food the way it ought to be, priced the way it used to.
Well, welcome back. Happy Tuesday morning. Thank you to Casey Security for your sponsorship. We appreciate it. Remember, connect with us on Facebook Live. Also, send in your thank you videos or your shout outs to your favorite worker and let us know why, and we will pin that to our social media and share it with you on our show, 1 o'clock show. Today, the premiere is coming up later on at 1 o'clock. Who is he with today?
He 1:30 today, actually.
1:30, yes. You're right. You did say that. And he is with the Solicitor General.
Yes.
Okay, so Sylvia
Jones. Not exactly
Jones.
sure what that announcement's going to be.
I don't know. And the Minister of Long-Term Care as well.
And the Minister of Long-Term Care.
Yeah. You wanted to talk a little bit about that today, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about long-term care a little bit later in the show.
Yeah.
People's opinions of long-term care. It's really shone spotlight onto long-term care and a lot of the issues in it. And Canadians' opinion of long-term care and who should provide it has changed drastically in the last 2 months.
Yeah, well, I know at the provincial level, Andrea Horvath, who is also a Hamiltonian, she is pushing for more inquiries into the processes of what goes on at the long-term care homes and what, having some... But the Premier is saying, there was some issues with long-term care. So they are addressing it. They're not ignoring it. And unfortunately, this has brought about a lot of situations.
So. And there's been a lot of talk about who provides long-term care, how it is provided. And the majority of Canadians now would actually like to see it become part of the Canada Health Act, which would mean it's covered under our health insurance programs in each province.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Right now, it's mainly by private providers, and they would like to see it nationalized. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. But actually taking all the long-term care homes over and have them just all run by the government, because they can enforce standards better if it's run by the government than if they have individual private companies, because like in any industry, you've got good actors and you've got bad actors. And there's for example, that nursing home in Montreal, where they had already had 30 deaths before they even told the province that they had an outbreak.
Oh.
And the people had been abandoned, and the owners have been criminally charged.
You did bring that up. That's right. We did discuss that.
So that has actually brought a spotlight onto this issue, and I think it's important because guess what? We have more people that are retiring and getting older. Yeah. Because we have the whole baby boomer generation now moving into starting to actually use the long-term care homes. Yeah. Seeing as the average age in a long-term care home is in the high 70s. So.
Although my parents can always come live with me if they want. They don't have to go there, but I will gladly take my parents in, wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh my goodness.
It would depend on the size of the house.
Oh, wow. Yeah. What are you going to do?
And it would depend whether or not their dog came or not, too.
Oh, okay.
Because Franny would be welcome right away. I had to make sure she got her own bedroom.
You do realize they took care of you from when you were born, right? Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
I had no choice in that matter. It was their choice.
I
just showed up.
I'm gonna help Chris out by getting him out of this mess and saying, would you like to go into the video?
Sure. This is a little bit more of my interview with Dr. Samantha Hill. She's the president of the Ontario Medical Association, who I spoke with the other day, and here we go. Personal protective measures. Can you explain to our audience why this is important? I know that for myself in the grocery store this past weekend, I noticed way less people walking around with masks, for example.
Right. So you're referencing the white paper that the Ontario Medical Association released. Correct. And what that did was it issued 5 public health pillars. With the idea being that as we reopen and as we look to resume something that approximates normal, that we know what we need to do it carefully and safely. So it's challenging right now because the government needs to juggle both fiscal recovery and medical recovery. And the OMA is committed to working collaboratively with the government to let us all do that in a way that occurs in the most efficient and effective manner for both patients and providers. So there's 5 pillars, like you said, and the first one is about personal protective measures. So personal protective measures are what everyone's been doing for the last 8 to 10 weeks. I've lost track of how long this is going on now. But it's the things where you stayed home and you locked your door and you didn't go out and mingle with your neighbors. It's how you washed your hands obsessively, it might have seemed. Every time you came to contact with another person, another object that another person might have touched. It's the way we kept 6 feet away from each other when we had to queue in lines to go to a grocery store because we couldn't get delivery organized or things like that. So as we reopen, it's easy to think, oh, everything's back to normal. We're fine. We can just, sit around and have a barbecue, chat at the store. We're not back to normal. There is no return to normal, and there won't be for at least a year, probably. Not until we have herd immunity, basically, whether it's by enough people catching the disease and recovering from it, or a vaccine that's developed. And so one of the things that a lot of conversation is hinged about right now has been masks. Mm-hmm. Initially, we said you don't need to wear a mask. And it seems to people like we've pivoted on that, right? People are confused. Like, well, you said we don't need a mask. Why do we need a mask now? And so honestly, the answer is that science and evidence changes, and the best science and the best medicine grows with the available evidence that we have. Initially, we were really focused on keeping people home. If you're at home in a bubble, you don't need a mask. It's not going to protect anyone because you're at home in your bubble. Now that we're reopening, now that we're increasing person-to-person exposure, the idea of a mask becomes much more important. And again, it's really important to remember that masks are a risk-benefit thing as much as everything else is. So when I wear a mask, it does nothing to protect me unless I'm wearing a surgical or a hospital-grade mask, which is not what we're encouraging for people outside in the periphery. Let's save those for the doctors and the nurses, et cetera, working.
And welcome back. That was my interview with Dr. Samantha Hill. She's the president of the Ontario Medical Association. You can see that full video on YouTube, and you can also see it if you look on our Facebook videos. You can see it from my show this morning, which will be up on Facebook video page for Sue Online.
Good.
And right after the break, Colette's going to be back with some entertainment news, and we will see you in just a minute.
Even though we can't always meet in person, we can still listen.
Even though schools are closed, help is still available in your community.
Even though you may be worried, services and supports are still here.
In stressful times like these, families need mental health supports more than ever.
We are here to make sure you can stay connected to your community and culture.
Nous savons qu'il peut être difficile de rester à la maison, mais vous n'êtes pas seul.
And we know asking for help for yourself and others can be hard.
But there are people in your community who are ready to support you.
No matter your age, gender, sexual identity, race, or culture.
No matter the day, time, or issue.
We're here to help.
Welcome back. Thanks to KC Security for your sponsorship of the AM and PM edition of our show. Mm-hmm. Okay, all things Kardashian. Yesterday we talked about Kim Ye, which is Kim and Kanye. Remember?
I learned a new word yesterday.
Yes, we're educating Chris one day at a time with the Kardashian world. I'm not too proud that I know that, by the way. It's not that I'm
like
putting
you're
that.
proud.
I'm not.
You seem proud about it.
I'm definitely not.
I'm getting the proud vibe.
Shut up. I'm absolutely not. But I read it yesterday. That's how I knew it was coming. Okay, I did not know that.
So you learned a new word yesterday as well.
I did. Yeah. I did. Okay, so yeah, they're happy in love with 6 years and their children's names Chicago and Psalm and all those crazy names. Okay, so they have other sisters who are also unique. Chloe has decided to take this opportunity to come back into the world as we're reopening everything as a new person. We have a picture of what Khloe Kardashian now looks like. How about that?
Which one's the new one?
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, even I know this one. Okay, the new one's on the right.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm not too sure, and Chloe's the left. That's an old picture of Chloe, though. That is not the most flattering picture of Chloe, and she is a very, very good-looking family. I mean, we can't take away from that, but what
That's the only thing they have going for them, yeah.
What are they? Yes.
They built an entire empire on basically being models and then using a reality show.
Well, when your mother, sells you out by finding a sex tape and, and pushing that.
I mean, what mother doesn't?
The marketing efforts around that mom is pretty excessive. She's she can market anything apparently.
Yeah.
But let's get back to this. What is that? Like, come on. I know it could be a face app. We've discussed that. Might not be real. But I guarantee you right now while you're watching this, if you go to your browser and Google and type in K for Khloe or Kardashian, that's going to pop up right away today. So that's today's entertainment piece. Her sister, Kourtney, who has a couple children as well, they are taking off to Idaho. They bought a house on the range and they're having all that kind of nice family life. But then Khloe over here is a new person. And she has a baby. So what if this baby wakes up in the morning and she goes to go get the baby out of the crib? Like, that is not my mama. Like, what is going on?
And how do you get plastic surgery right now? How is that a necessary procedure?
I was going to say that as well. I'm not too sure.
That's not a necessary procedure.
No, but I think that they must have one on their staff. You know what I mean? I don't think it's something that's new. I heard that Chris Evans originally turned down the chance to play Captain America because he suffers from a lot of anxiety and depression. So I found that pretty interesting because that has just... he's made a huge name for himself as Captain America. I don't know if you watch that as well. But so that just brings me to another little piece that I want to talk about, and that's your kids right now at home. They have a bit of anxiety, and I know that they're worried about my son and myself. I can speak for my personal self, but my 9-year-old is scared to go out, and he goes to the fence, he talks to his friends, and he's like, why don't people just stay home so we don't get sick? I said, well, yeah, that's what the point is. Anyway, he is on the internet a lot and the YouTube a lot. And I come home and he's like, oh, I watched an update on the COVID-19 today, or coronavirus today. It doesn't say COVID-19, it says corona.
Yeah.
I thought, how does he know that? So there's a lot of steps that you need to take.
And the question is, well, how accurate is that information on YouTube?
I don't know what website. So I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what he's visiting.
Because I know that on Facebook, they started to remove videos with incorrect information.
Really?
Because they were the ones being viewed the most.
Well, that's good. At least somebody's monitoring that stuff. So there's some online safety rules. I don't know if your kids use chat rooms or not. I know with their PS4s, they're talking. You don't know who they're talking to. So I'm always kind of telling my son, don't say where you live. Don't say who's in the house with you. Don't say anything. So just go over these procedures. Ask your kids what they're looking up on YouTube. Yeah. Maybe take their iPad, take their computer.
You can click on the history button and see what they've been watching.
100%.
On YouTube, it'll show you every single video you watch.
That's right. But just sit there and have that conversation with them and tell them and warn them about the dangers of just talking and what not to look at, what not to fall into the trap of when you're reading something and believing everything you read. So just wanted to share that with everybody today. And obviously we wanted to share Khloe Kardashian's face too. But we will be back after this commercial break with more information.
A message from the Government of Canada. COVID-19 is a serious public health threat. All Canadians must act now to reduce the spread. Avoid crowded places and practice social distancing. Avoid non-essential travel and stay home as much as possible. Self-isolate if you may have been exposed to COVID-19. Stay connected with neighbors, friends, and family. When you take care of yourself, you take care of others.
A message from the Government of Canada.
Welcome back. Thanks to Casey Security for your sponsorship. It is a very spicy morning in here today. I am not in the best of moods. I am trying to smile. Mike is talking to you. We won't go into that. It is a very spicy morning here. So please spice it up a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah, producer Mike and I are going back and forth on the commercial break with insults. Okay, so we have no new cases of COVID-19 other than the one that came out over the weekend. And we are waiting, obviously, to find out if we have 379 cases still outstanding that we're waiting for to find out the results from. Hopefully we will get through those tests. I mean, the testing numbers in Ontario have been down the last few days, way down from our capacity of over 20,000. We did have 460 new cases on Sunday. We don't have the numbers yet for Monday. And now I want to talk about long-term care homes. Okay, so we've seen massive outbreaks in certain long-term care homes. There was the one in Montreal. There was the one I talked about that was in Bobcaygeon, where over half the people in it ended up being positive for COVID-19, and a good bunch of them had passed away. So it's really shone a spotlight onto the entire long-term care home industry. Also, we call them sort of nursing homes as well. And Canadians are actually in a very different position now than they were in the past with regard to long-term care homes. So a study came out from Angus Reid, and they did a poll of Canadians. And here's what they have actually found. 82% of all the deaths in the country are in long-term care homes from COVID-19. So that is like basically 4 out of every 5 people who died from COVID-19 in Canada passed away in long-term care homes. 2/3 of Canadians are now in favor of the government nationalizing all the long-term care homes and taking them over and putting them under the Canada Health Act. Now, the Canada Health Act is the act that regulates what is supposed to be paid for under our health insurance programs and what is not. Presently, long-term care is not part of the Canada Health Act. However, most Canadians are now in favor of that. 2/3 of Canadians want to see that as part of the Canada Health Act and the government to take it over. Here's the interesting part from that study. The 3 major political parties that aren't the Conservatives, so Liberals, NDP, and Green, massively, about 75% of them are in favor of taking over long-term care homes. However, the Conservatives, only 47% of Conservative voters in the last election thought it was a good idea for the government to take over the long-term care homes and put them part of the Canada Health Act. That's very interesting in that I would have expected a lower amount of Conservatives to actually be interested in nationalizing something, because that is not something that is part of the Conservative political philosophy. So I fully expect that from NDP, Liberal, Green. However, right now, between the Liberals and NDP, they can actually push this through and actually make it part of the Canada Health Act because they have the numbers in Parliament to do so. We will be back at 1 o'clock today for a special report afternoon edition. I'll also be on tonight at 7 p.m. and Colette's on at 5 with the news, and we will see you at 1 o'clock.
Have a good afternoon. Bye.